Oh man, I know I didn't get a chance to get that downloaded in time. Jesse, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear, man. Welcome to Mo's Knows. I didn't get a chance to download that in time, guys, but that was a brief little clip of the final rolling credits of NFL Red Zone. The last Sunday of NFL Red Zone has come and gone. The NFL season is not over, um, but that is a sign that we are getting to that point of no longer having football. Jesse, my man, this season has been absolutely crazy. We're just going to jump right in, man. I only got you for about 30 to 40 minutes, so I want to get as much out of this time as we possibly can. Um, listen, hold on. That wasn't, we'll just go black background. This season has been tumultuous, unpredictable, crazy. There's a lot of one words you can sum it up. What is your overall final thought on the way this 2021 NFL season went?
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, this is the most wide open, crazy, wild season that I have seen in a long time. And Mose, as you know, I'm pretty sure that I said this the last time we were on when we did our 3/4 session of the season. I said by now, there's normally a team or two that you look at and say, that's the team. That's the team right there to beat. AFC, NFC, each side has one. Man, they're in the playoffs, Mose. I still don't know who the teams to beat are. I think everybody can be beat. I think
Yeah.
styles make matchups, and I genuinely feel like three teams minimum from each conference can represent that side in the Super Bowl. And that's fun. Like, as a football fan, obviously I'm rooting for the San Francisco 49ers, but even if they don't make it, normally when my team makes the playoffs and they lose, I'm out. Like, I do not care. Now, if they don't make the playoffs, I always find somebody else and I kind of root for them and that carries me through. But if my team makes the playoffs and they get bounced, I do not care a lick about the rest of the season. This year is very different because it is still so wide open, and I'm curious to see who's going to win and who's going to represent the NFC and who's going to represent the AFC. So for me, just parity. Parity would be the one word I would use.
Absolutely. I love that word parody, man. Just as somebody who loves the game, I love every aspect of it, right? So uh, the main reason why I got into the content creating space and just, talking about the NFL as a whole is just because this is what I love, right? And now we get to in the spirit of my other podcast, and shout out to my co-host, we get to the nitty-gritty, right? Now we get to the final games of the season. And we've heard it from player to player, from coach to coach. This is what you're made of. Everything you do in the regular season, it does build up to this, it does lead up to this. But at the end of the day, once you get into the tournament, everything that happened in those first 18 weeks, that's out the window. Now you have an opportunity in the tournament to make a run, to win 3, 4 games in a row, and to ultimately lift up that Lombardi trophy. So to see what guys step up, and not that you want to see anybody fail, but see who might crack under the pressure. It's always an exciting time. Shout out to Miss Deb. She says, "Hey, Mose and Jessie, blessings to you both. We love you, Miss Debbie. Absolutely. Thank you so
Miss
much for
Debbie,
tuning
she's the
in.
best. She really is. I love her.
Absolutely. All right, Jesse. Like I said, we're gonna jump right in. Give me one surprise from this season, and give me one letdown, something that you knew for sure was going to happen, and it did not happen. Could be anything. Give me one surprise. Give me one letdown.
Okay, so one surprise, and I can't put it in the letdown category because I'm so happy it happened, but Seattle Seahawks and just the way that they fell apart. I know that they beat our 49ers twice and whatnot, but just the overall letdown from that team, even when Russell came back, that team just never put it together. And I thought for sure Seattle would be a better team. I thought they'd be a playoff team. I picked all 4 teams from the NFC West to make it to the playoffs, and the fact that they really showed no fight in some of those must-win games was crazy to me. That is super, super surprising. And I would say disappointment is what happened today. The fact that Crosby made second team All Pro over Nick Bosa is criminal. It is absolutely criminal. And I'm sorry, I have to put a website on blast. The only reason that garbage happened is because PFF exists. And PFF is the most inflated, overrated, trash site that there is. Now, I love some of the deep dive analytics that they bring to the game, but to tell me that Crosby had 101 pressures, absolutely unbelievable. When you go to reputable sites like Pro Football Reference and they have him sitting at 42,
Right.
it's not even close. And I know that they're wrong. This is I'm going to give you 2 examples of PFF just being way off base. Week 1, they had Armstead at like between it was like 13 or 17 pressures. I posted a clip on Twitter after that week 1 game of every single pass rush opportunity he had. I couldn't count more than 3, and that was if I was being generous. Where they come up with their numbers is unbelievable. And then last week, to have Trent Sherfield with his one amazing catch in that Rams game have a higher PFF score than Debo Samuel is all you need to know about what type of garbage PFF throws out there. So the fact that they are the reason that Crosby is where he's at and Bosa didn't even get on the second team All Pro, it's a joke.
We're Jesse. You and I are cut from the same cloth. I've never understood the PFF gradings. That's why I don't spend my money to get the upgraded membership, because I don't understand that. And even if you say he had 100 pressures, well, why does that 100 pressures not equal up to the amount of sacks that Nick Bosa had in less pressures? And why is the amount of sacks that you get based on the amount of pressures that you have not configured and weighted in that average? So if Nick Bosa got 15 and a half sacks, which was fourth in the league with less pressures, but Max Crosby had more pressures and less sacks. I mean, what affects the game more? Yeah, pressures count, but you can pressure a quarterback and he can be like Kyler Murray or Josh Allen and escape the pocket and make a play. So while you got a positive check mark for a pressure, he just threw a 50-yard bomb that got his team in the red zone because he was able to escape that pressure and make a play happen. Whereas when you sack a quarterback, the quarterback isn't making a play. He's on his back. He's lost yards. Now his team is behind the sticks because of that negative play that he just took from a sack by Nick Bosa. It doesn't make sense. It does, and you can say we sound like homers because we're a Niner fan. Please, it does not make sense at all.
Yeah,
Um,
and the thing about it is too is I don't want to make it seem like I'm throwing shade at Crosby because Crosby's a very good player.
I
And
love him. I
yeah,
love the kid.
he's an animal. I watched that game. I forget what game it was. It was a primetime game, I believe, against the Ravens, where I think they won in overtime. I don't either way. The game was really close. It was middle of the season. He was a one-man wrecking crew in that game, right? So this is not to say that Crosby's not a good player or deserving of accolades and praise and a big contract. This is not that. This is just simply saying there is no way you can tell me he had a better season than Nick Bosa. It doesn't exist other than that one world. So
Absolutely. To give my one surprise, I mean, I don't know if I can claim this as a surprise because I thought that they were going to do well, and a lot of people were killing me especially my OG Joe Howard. I'm using names, Jesse. I'm choosing violence. Him and his son, him and Junior, called me crazy for picking the over. Before the season, I did my over unders for wins, and I called the Bengals over. They were over under 6. I was like, I think they can get 6 wins. I thought they may only be around 7 or 8. I thought they were still a young team trying to find their way. Of course, Bengal fans thought I was crazy. Oh, we're going to get more than 7. And I was like, listen, if y'all get more than 7, I'll be happy for you, and that'll still make me right. But to see this Bengals team, the way that they've played football, it, Joe Burrow is real. He is the real deal. Then you give him a weapon that he's familiar with, and I mean, I don't. I think it's too early. I think it's very presumptuous to say this after one season. But is Jamar Chase unguardable one on one?
I mean, here's the thing about the NFL, and I reserve I've okay, my big thing over the course of the season is just trying to tell people to pump brakes on young players, first or second year players, and basically saying it's a 3-year process. These players come in year 1, sometimes they struggle, sometimes they have a good year. No matter what, year 2 the NFL makes adjustments. Usually they have a down year compared to their rookie year. And then year 3 is when they get to make adjustments to the adjustments and we find out who players are. But then every once in a while you get a player like a Jamar Chase that comes in immediately, lights the league on fire. Jamar Chase is already a top 5 wide receiver in this game. And that there's a lot of really, really good receivers. This right now might be the most receiver heavy league as far as quality up and down this league that we may have ever seen, Mo. And the fact that he's top 5 as a rookie in my mind, kid's really good. Yeah, he might be unguardable.
He's special. So I definitely want to see that second year, right? Will he go through a sophomore slump? Like you said, teams are going to make adjustments. He's going to be double covered. They're going to shade coverage his way. They are not going to let him tear up his one-on-one matchup because he's not going to face a Jair Alexander every week. He's not going to face a Jalen Ramsey every week. There'll be weeks where he's going up against subpar talent across from him. And with the way that he played this year and the chemistry that he has with Joe Burrow, man, absolutely. My disappointment for this season, I mean, I could take the easy one and say the Colts because that debacle against Jacksonville was I it, I don't know how you can go into that game with that little effort, um, and then when you get punched in your mouth early, there doesn't seem like there's any fight. But I'm gonna go with Baltimore, and I know a lot of it had to do with injuries, but I'm gonna say that as disappointing. I think this Baltimore team, even with the way that they fought every week, with the talent that they have, Mark Andrews has quietly crept up into that upper echelon of top tight ends. Wide receivers were kind of in and out, banged up. Obviously, Lamar Jackson with the injury late in the season, ultimately then missing the playoffs. But injuries upon injuries, we know it well. In 2020, the injury bug hit the 49ers. And it seems like this year, that injury bug traveled to Baltimore. So it almost feels like a wasted season in a sense. You know, you lose J.K. Dobbins, and then you lose Gus Edwards right after that. You lose Marcus Peters. Other corners go down. You lose Ronnie Stanley. It injury after injury after injury. I think that is what held this team back from. I think it robbed us as football fans from seeing if Lamar Jackson was able to take the leap this year. We know that Baltimore is a perennial playoff team. They have a great organization, great coaching staff, great ownership. The players are bought into the culture. They have a good stable of players. We know they're a playoff team when healthy. But we wanted to see if he got into the tournament with the Josh Allens, with the Patrick Mahomes, with the Joe Burrows, if he could take that next step and really ascend himself as one of the top flight quarterbacks in the league, not just with his running, but with his passing and being able to lead his team to victories in the bright moments. And I think we got robbed of that with all of the injuries that Baltimore suffered. So for me, that was a major disappointment.
Yeah, I think both would have been been a fine answer, right? Baltimore, obviously, it does suck to see what happened with them, and once they lost Lamar, it was just too much, right? Like he did a great job of holding it all together the best he could, and the moment he went down, it was over for them. But the Colts, man, all you had to do was win one of the final two, and you couldn't figure it out. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I picked them preseason to win that division, and the way they played down the stretch was just I don't know what the hell's going on over there.
Um, Apparently, ownership, GM, they're talking about, what they thought they were going to get from Carson Wentz isn't what they got, and right now they don't want to talk about who will and will not be on this roster. Is that an indictment on Carson Wentz? Will he be a Colt next year?
I think that he has to be. I would have to look at that contract and see what it would do. I feel like giving up a first round pick and then this guy's not even there. That would be an indictment on the front office. What that would be. Listen, Carson Wentz at this point is not amazing, but he has moments where he shows he can be elite, and then he has moments where he shows he doesn't belong in the top 25. Like he's all over the map, but I I find it hard pressed that he's not the quarterback of that team next year. I think financially it probably would hurt him too much giving up that draft capital. Imagine not drafting in the first round and be like, well, the guy that we're not drafting for is not even on the team anymore. I think that would be a bad move. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Carson Wentz will be back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Mariah 49 faithfully. She says, GOAT times GOAT. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are a GOAT as well. Everybody go over to 49er Faithfully podcast and subscribe and over there. Show Mariah some love. And we got to show the young legend some love too. Amin the Dream. What's up, Mose and Jessie? Amin, appreciate you for tuning in, man. Go over to Amin the Dream on YouTube. Subscribe, like, give him some engagement, man. He knows what he's talking about.
I
All right,
mean, I
Jesse.
gotta say real quick, it probably feels that way. I got about a 5 hat rotation. I usually tend to wear black when I stream. This is my 8th one. I got a ninth one of the week after this. So you've seen a lot of me. I'm sure it's all bleeding together.
Listen, the snapback or fitted combo with the hoodie, man, you can never go wrong. Never go wrong. All right, Jesse, let's jump into these playoff matchups. We'll alternate back and forth, AFC, NFC, and then we'll go through a little exercise. We did this on our 2/3 special. We kind of walked through who would make the playoffs and who we thought, would end up in the Super Bowl and win it. Now that we know the teams that are in the tournament, we kind of get a better sense of how we want to do that. So we'll go through that exercise. We'll let you pick. We'll let me pick. We'll see where we agree, where we differ, and
Yeah,
then we'll
let's do
close
it.
out the show. So let's start with Kansas City at Pittsburgh Steelers at the Kansas City Chiefs in one of the first AFC wildcard matches. I don't. This is the NFL. It's any given Sunday. I don't want to say it's a lock for Kansas City, but this might be one of the easiest playoff games that I've seen in a long time. I think it's good for football fans and Steelers fans, of course, to have Big Ben go out this way, or maybe he doesn't go out, but to have an opportunity in the tournament, to play at least one more game. Give me one thing, not the outcome, but just give me one thing that you're looking forward to with this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want to see what Kansas City really has because they ended up the number 2 seed, I believe, in the AFC, and they just had an up and down season themselves. There was a moment there where I really thought that they were going to run away with it. Before the season started, what's up, Perk? Before the season started, I said that they were going to win the AFC, and then they started out a little rocky. I stuck with them. I believe they were that team. And then when we came back and we did the 2/3 show, they were that team. Now, at the very end, they faltered just enough not to get that number 1 seed, but I wanna see them put their foot on the neck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and show that they truly are that team. It's the playoffs. Now it's time to stop messing around. You've shown you can be eh, you've shown you can be good, then back to meh. I gotta see it now. Can that defense step up and do what it should do in this game? Or is this game closer than what it should be? That's what I want to see.
I want to know if there's any possible way, based on how the matchups unfold, if Kansas City will get to see Cincinnati again, because I think Jamar Chase single-handedly helped them. He was a part of them not being able to secure that number 1 seed, right? Um, Absolutely amazing game. So I don't think Kansas City wants to see that young man anytime soon. I agree with you 1,000%. Um, Again, this is the NFL. No disrespect to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is one of those games Kansas City should put up 40 plus points. I think this is one of those games that gets out of hand early. They have some late scores to continue to balloon that lead, but I think this is one of those games where they can put up 40 points and be dominant and make it look like they had a bye week. Over on the NFC side, we have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me one thing that you're looking for in this matchup.
I want to see if Tampa Bay still got it. Okay, so it was about 4 weeks ago. I said, I do not want the 49ers to play Tampa Bay. That's the one team I want no part of if the 49ers get into the dance. And then Godwin went out. I said, well, hold on. We still don't want any part of this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team because people are forgetting that Antonio Brown, really before all that crazy stuff happened to me, was on his way to going down as the second best wide receiver of all time. This man put together a 6-season stretch like no other. While Julio Jones was in the league, it was him who was winning first team all pros more than Julio Jones. So this is a bad man. He's still young enough. He's got all of that with Tom Brady. And then he goes AWOL. So now they don't have Godwin. They don't have Brown. I want to see and the health, right? There's a lot of guys that should be back, but we don't know what's going to happen. The health of that defense started allowing leaks in the running game, which is something you had not seen for the better part of 2 years. I want to see if they've still got that swagger, if they're still the team to rock in the NFC, because right now, like I said, it is wide open. And the Eagles, much like the Steelers, should be the team that is the easiest out. I think they're a harder out than Pittsburgh, but they should be the easiest out. How does that game go down?
Yeah, I'm actually looking to see on the flip side. I want to see how legit this Eagles team is. Um, Being born and raised in the Philadelphia area, living in New Jersey, surrounded by Eagles fans who 99.6 of them I can't stand. Um, I did not want this team to make the playoffs just because I knew I would hear it. I did not want us to lose, the 49ers to lose in week 18 and we missed the playoffs and the Eagles make the playoffs, because then I would have heard it even more. So I owe our 49ers a lot in that regard. We finished with a better record and a better seed in the playoffs than the Eagles. But from an objective NFL fan standpoint, I want to see if this team is legit. I gave Nick Sirianni a lot of crap because his opening press conference, when he was named the head coach of the team, I couldn't understand 90% of what that dude was saying. I thought that he was going to come in and have no idea what he was doing. But he actually got this Philadelphia Eagles team to play and to play well. They've sustained some injuries. Um, Thankfully, they drafted Devontae Smith, but they still don't have a solid number 2 receiver. They thought that would be Jalen Rager. There was a stat that came out that Henry Ruggs had more yards than Jalen Rigger had for an entire season, and Henry Ruggs stopped playing in week 8. So that is a failed experiment in with Jalen Rigger, right? But I want to see in a hostile environment against the defending Super Bowl champions how Nick Sirianni has his guys ready to play, and particularly Jalen Hurts. How does he have his mindset going into that game against that team? And that'll tell a lot about where this team is going in the future. Thankfully, they have a lot of draft picks. If they stick with Jalen Hurts, then that means they don't have to waste one of those picks on a quarterback, and they can, use that to fill out the roster a little bit more. Maybe find that number 2 wide receiver to complement Devontae Smith. But I want to see. I think the outcome of this game and how they play will dictate the future of this Eagles franchise. Moving back over to the AFC,
Can I
we have
just say something real quick about
sure,
that game? And
sure.
I'm not necessarily picking the Eagles, but what came across my mind, and I don't know why this hit me. It hit me, I believe it was yesterday morning. I was thinking about that game and how everybody says that Tampa should win, much like I said. I'm sure you believe it. And then what crossed my mind for whatever reason, I think it was 2002, the Falcons went into Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre. That Packer team, nobody was picking the Falcons. At that point, the Packers never lost at Lambeau. They didn't have the best defense in Atlanta, and they were able to get it done. And for some reason, when I thought of this game, that's the game that popped into my mind. So, again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but all the way back to 2002, immediately, that's the reference that came to me. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it was just a weird, random thought that I had about that game.
And this is why we watch. This is why we love the playoffs because anything can happen. Back over on the AFC side, we got a AFC East battle in the playoffs. Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots. Give me one thing you're looking for in this matchup.
Yeah, so you've got a division matchup. For me, outside of the 49er game, this is the one I'm looking most forward to. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And I don't think the elements are going to be as bad as that first time they matched up, but it's going to be extremely cold. So, two quick things that I'm looking for. One is, can Mac Jones in cold weather throw the ball repeatedly and efficiently? Because that was one question I had about him going to the Patriots when he got drafted. I knew coaching wise it was a great fit, but cold weather with his skill set, I thought it was a bad match. So we'll see. We'll see if it was just a one off or if this is going to be possibly a trend for him throughout his New England career, which would be bad considering that's the end of the year every year when you're in New England and you're playing teams like Buffalo. But that's one thing I'm looking for or looking forward to. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is, can Dayball get any sense of a run game going for these Buffalo Bills? This has been, a lot of people like Dayball. And I said it during the playoffs last year when they went on a stretch. They ended up losing to Kansas City in the AFC Championship, and people were really high. Ryan Dayball, he's the next head coach. I thought he was overrated then. And the reason was is because in a 3-game clip, they had something like 33 designed run plays in 3 games. Now, they had a lot more runs because Josh Allen was able to get mobile and do his thing, but that's not good enough. You cannot do that to any quarterback, especially a quarterback that you're trying to develop. Everybody needs help. And the fact that you were just non-committal to even trying to run the ball, and now you've done it again for a big chunk of this season, that cannot continue. You have to commit at some point to running the ball. You have to get creative and you have to give Josh Allen some help. So, can they run the ball in Buffalo? And can Mac Jones deal with the cold weather? Those are the things I'm looking for.
I again, I agree with you there. I'm almost hoping that Brian Dayball gets a head coaching job somewhere so that Buffalo can look for another offensive coordinator who is more apt to running the ball and has a better scheme in place because I think that would only help, like you said, Josh Allen's development. So another year with Brian Dayball, we may not see the development that we want to see from Josh Allen, just because he doesn't have the necessary help. If there are games where he doesn't have to win with his arm because they can run the ball 30, 35, 40 times, that can only help him when it comes to the play action game, all those things like that. So I absolutely agree. I want to see Josh Allen take it to the next level, and that may not be under the tutelage of somebody like Brian Daboll. Over on the NFC side, we have another division matchup. We have the Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams. We've seen these teams twice each. We've seen them play each other. We've watched, those division battles closely because our 49ers play both of those teams. Give me something that you're looking for in this matchup.
Cliff Kingsbury, are you or aren't you? Because there is no reason for them to try to extend this man if they can't even look respectable in this playoff game. The fact that they lost to Seattle, a team that had zero to play for when you are fighting for the division, could have won the division. This game could have been at home had you just taken care of business, and you didn't. So I get it. Hopkins is out. It sounds like Watt's going to come back. That's fantastic. You have to figure out as an offensive guy with a man like Kyler Murray as your quarterback to score some points and get it done. So, Cliff Kingsbury, this is about as hot as it's going to get. Do something with it.
Agreed, man. Absolutely agreed. Back over on the AFC side, we have the Las Vegas Raiders versus Cincinnati Bengals. Besides Jamar Chase, give me something that you're looking for in this matchup.
Yeah, I want to see if the young Cincinnati team can do something that most teams that are first time in the playoffs don't do, which is win a football game, right? I know that they're favorites. I know on paper they should win, but the Raiders to me are a battle tested team. You're talking about a team that lost their head coach on a short week notice and found a way to win, had multiple people arrested. I mean, everything that could go bad for the Raiders throughout that season had. Then they had to win the final week of the regular season to get in. They do it in overtime against a division foe. I think the Raiders are very battle tested, and you've got the young hot squad coming in that everybody's picking to win and win going away. I think it might be tighter than that. And I just want to see if this team, if it does get tight, how they fight through that adversity because young teams usually tend to fold in those scenarios in the playoffs. So I want to see how that goes for Cincinnati.
I want to see how the Raiders come out and play on the opposite end of that. And I think if the Raiders can find a way to win this game, I don't see how the Raiders as an organization doesn't give the head coaching job to Rich Bisaccia. Everything, like you said, all the things that you mentioned, everything that he had to endure to get this team into a playoff game and to win in the wild card round against such a hot team at this point in the season. I think that proves that he's the man for the job. And while you may want to do your due diligence and see what else is out there, I think whatever he's selling, the players are buying. Because once that the issue with Gruden happened and he left, if the players were there for Gruden and now he's gone, a lot of times in those situations, you see guys they hang it up. We'll see who the coach is next season, and we'll make our decision if we want to stay or if we want to go, or if we want to play for that coach. Whatever he sold this team as his philosophy, as his culture moving forward, they bought in. And this is the evidence of that, them making it into this playoff game. And if they can get a win, I don't see how you can't give Rich Bisaccia a chance at being a head coach of this organization.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Final game, our game. Our 49ers head to Dallas to play the Cowboys. A rivalry renewed. What are you looking for in this matchup?
Man, there's a lot that I'm looking for in this matchup. I'll try to keep it short, but I want to see if the 49ers have a letdown game, right? There was a lot of
Mm.
emotion that went into that game last week. I mean, you had to win in overtime, the division rival, much like the Raiders, right? Just to sneak in. And you've got Jimmy G. on what seems to be the final ride with San Francisco. Is there too much emotion that went into that last game? Right? Is this going to be a letdown? And then on the flip side is Dallas, they're known to just fold like a cheap tent. So are they the same old Dallas Cowboys or is this something different? I think both teams have a lot to prove and a lot going against them. And I want to see how it plays out on Sunday.
Absolutely. I just want to see us come out and play a full 60 minutes of football. That's it. That's all I've wanted from us every game of the season. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I want to see us consistently. If we can go on a run of 3, 4 games where every one of those games we can play a consistent, solid, efficient 60 minutes of football, we have just as good as a chance as any one of these teams in the tournament. Only got you for a couple minutes, Jesse. So let's do your playoff prediction. Let me get this set up right now. Let's put us on the side right here. Okay. So we got our bracket here. We got the AFC side. We got the NFC side. Let me slide this over because my Mo's nose is kind of covering that up. Still covering up the Bengals, but that's okay.
It's all good. You can
Um,
see them enough.
so we got our teams with the bye. We got Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers. They're on the bye. So we can already move them over to this side. Let's start on the NFC side. Who you got? Buccaneers, Eagles.
And I really think this game is going to be closer than what people think. I could see it like a 24-20 type of game. But ultimately, I have to go with Tom Brady and the home team to get it done. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
So two comes over here. Cowboys, 49ers.
49ers, I feel so confident about this game, and maybe that's not the best. I don't know, but I haven't had 1 ounce of nervousness about this game. My confidence is an 8 out of 10. Dallas allows way too many yards on the ground, and San Francisco for the last 9 weeks, that first 8 weeks, completely different team. That team does not exist anymore. This team forces turnovers now. This team runs the ball at will. This team stops the run. This is a completely different team. The 49ers are going to win 31-24.
I think that was my score prediction. We're on the same page there. Rams, Cardinals.
Rams. Like, I just do not believe in Cliff Kingsbury whatsoever. And without Hopkins, I just think it's too much to overcome. The Rams are they have an axe to grind, and they're going to win this game.
Absolutely. Moving over to the AFC. Chiefs, Steelers.
Chiefs, that's the easiest one.
That's easy. Bills and Patriots.
Yeah, when you have two teams that are this close, two teams that are in division, it's a tough pick, but ultimately the tiebreaker comes down to the quarterback position. Josh Allen is everything that Mac Jones is not, and he is the veteran. I am going with the Buffalo Bills.
All right, going with the Buffalo Bills. They are 3.
Who are you taking in that one?
I'm going Buffalo as well. I'm I'm
Okay.
I'm a Josh Allen fan. I actually wanted the Niners to take Josh Allen when we needed a quarterback. I think that first game against the Patriots, where they ran the ball, what was it, 50 plus times, and Mac Jones only threw the ball 3. And then the reporters, the questions that they asked to Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, and the disrespect that they felt, I knew when they played them again that wasn't going to happen. So I think that game woke them up, knocked that sour taste out of their mouth. And I think they know how to beat this Patriot team with this young quarterback, even with the defense that Bill Belichick is going to run out there. So right now, we're lockstep with our picks. I got Buffalo as well. And last game, Raiders, Bengals.
I think Cincinnati does ultimately win that game, but I think it'll be very close.
Okay. AFC matchups looking really good. Let's stay on this side. Tennessee against the Bengals. I think the Bengals would then go to Tennessee.
Yeah, they would. They would in that scenario. Yeah, Tennessee gets it done. I just talked about the Bengals being a young team and having to take steps. It's great that they get a playoff win, but you're gonna have to do more and grow a little bit before you can beat the number one team in the AFC, who should be getting King Henry back.
And Kansas City versus Buffalo. This is a rematch from an earlier season game. Buffalo finally got over the hump, but was that when it really matters? Do you think they're able to beat this Kansas City Chiefs team twice in one season?
Absolutely not. Kansas City is going to win that game.
All right. So we have our AFC title game. Kansas City Chiefs going to the Tennessee Titans over on the AFC side. Green Bay at San Francisco. Or
Okay,
San
so
Francisco at Green Bay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Green Bay, yeah. So this is a tough one to pick because you don't know how healthy a team's going to come out anytime that they have to play in the first round. I know that Green Bay is getting a lot of guys back. It sounds like Jair Alexander should be back. Bakhtiari should be back. They should be relatively healthy, but the 49ers are the healthiest they have been really all season long. This is the first time since week one that you're going to have Aziz Al Shair and Greenlaw with Warner. I think Ambry Thomas is the X factor for the San Francisco 49ers. If he can hold up his end of the bargain, which I'm not going to pin on him if he doesn't play well for whatever reason, but if he does continue to play well, I don't know if San Francisco can be beat, to be real with you. So I'm gonna go with the San Francisco 49ers. I still think Green Bay can be bullied. I haven't seen them prove otherwise. And when the 49ers almost beat them earlier in the season, they only scored 7 points in the first half and ran the ball 10 times with their actual fourth string running back at that time, Sermon, who they clearly didn't want to feed the rock to, and they still were able to hang around. Yeah, they're going to beat Green Bay this time around.
Yeah, this is a different game. I think that as we talked about, sour taste in the mouth. I think us being able to come back in that game, take the lead, 27-25, only for them to kick the field goal and win 28-27. Um, that was a game that we could have won. We always, as 49er fans and content creators, we look at those one game instances where if we just could have got it done, then this week 18 game against the Rams wouldn't have had as much significance, right? We say that about both of the Cardinals games losing to the replacements. We say that about both of the Seattle games. We can say that about the Tennessee Titan game. There were a lot of these one game instances where if one or two things differently would have happened, the outcome of our season would be completely different. I think this team, I don't think we're looking past Dallas, but I think we are excited for the fact about rematching with Green Bay because we know that we can hang with this team. As good as Aaron Rodgers is playing, yeah, they have Devontae Adams. We know that we can play ball against this team. So I think we're looking
Absolutely.
forward to that matchup. Bucks and Rams.
I'm going with the Bucks. I don't trust Matthew Stafford whatsoever. So, I mean, I just trust him a bit more than I do Cliff Kingsbury, but I don't trust him enough to beat Tom Brady. Not on the road.
Okay. Title games. Let's start with the AFC. Titans or Chiefs? Who you got?
I got Tennessee. I think that run game is going to be too much. The Chiefs are just not an opportunistic defense consistently, which pairs well with a high flying offense. I think this is just a different Tennessee Titan team. And if the Chiefs sell out to stop the run, AJ Brown is going to have a field day. So I'm going with Tennessee.
And San Fran, Tampa.
I'm picking the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl right here, right now. I just at some point those losses for Tampa Bay are going to be too much. And I think this is where their run ends.
I agree with you. I think all the talk about, whether Tom Brady was talking about the 49ers, about picking Jimmy Garoppolo over him, we can speculate that he was talking about the 49ers. We can, talk about the matchup of, Jimmy Garoppolo going up against Tom Brady all we want. This is going to be about which team brings their hard hat, which team laces the boots up, brings the lunch pill, and goes to work. And I think if this Tampa team does not have a running game, that only benefits the 49ers. So we'll be able to stop whatever run game they throw out there. I think we'll be able to uh, keep a lid on that passing game from Tom Brady. And if, like you said, they're starting to show, cracks in the armor with them being able to stop the run, if they can't stop us from running the ball, I think they're going to have a tough time. Here's where I disagree with you. I think Kansas City gets past Tennessee.
Mm, okay.
I think I love Vrabel. I love what he's doing. If there was a year, I think this could be his year. But I think Kansas City, when they get into that moment, I think it'll be bigger for Tennessee than it is for Kansas City. And I think because it may be too big for Tennessee, there will be that one crucial mistake that swings the momentum in Kansas City's favor. And once they grab a hold of it, they take it and they're going to go all the way. So we have a rematch of a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And this 49ers team, they talk about, revenge tour, and we look at the, rematches and going up against teams. I don't think this is a revenge game for the 49ers. I think they would go into this Super Bowl matchup with, we didn't finish business last time. We know the formula to beat this team. We are going to finish the job this time. But I'll go back to your scenario with Tennessee and San Fran. Who do you got winning the Super Bowl and hoisting Lombardi Trophy in this scenario?
Yeah, well, let me say in your scenario, I agree. I think the 49ers do get it done. I just think they're too complete of a team. And I just don't see a way that Kansas City beats them a second time. In my scenario, however, I've got the Tennessee Titans winning the Super Bowl. I just think that
Wow.
they this is a heavyweight fight at the end of the day. And I just told you my tiebreaker when it comes down to two teams that I think are evenly matched, and I think these two teams are about as evenly matched as it can get. I just trust Tannehill more than I do Jimmy Garoppolo,
Mm.
and that's what I have to go with. I think the Tennessee Titans get it done.
And isn't this a rematch of the game that if the 49ers won, it so I don't know. I think in both situations, whether it's Kansas City or Tennessee, it it's a rematch game, right? It's a, we didn't finish the job the first time around.
But let's
Now
not
we have
forget
a
that
second
Henry was
opportunity
out.
to do it.
If
That
Henry's
is tr
there, that's a
that is
big,
true.
big
So
difference.
what you said was perfect. Perfect. A heavyweight match. Our run defense against Derrick Henry, who has fresh legs. I don't know. That could be tough. I listen. I'm just excited to see all of it. The playoffs start tomorrow. We have two games on the schedule. Let me double check just to make sure that I'm not giving out any incorrect information. We have the Raiders at the Bengals at 4:30 on NBC, and then we have the Patriots at the Bills at 8:15 on CBS. Playoffs start tomorrow. Jesse Naylor of Last Second Sports, my brother, thank you so much. This was an excellent series that we did this season. 3 shows, 3 dynamite shows. We were able to, come together and get this content together. Listen, I'm excited for next year. I think we do the same type of thing. I think we do 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks, go into the playoffs. I
Let's
think
do a
this is something that
preseason
we
one though
continue.
too to make some predictions, and so that way we can follow it all the way through. That's the only thing I want to add. Let's do a preseason one.
You got it, brother. We're doing a preseason one. I know you got another show to jump to. I'm glad we were able to get this time in. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. Mariah, Miss Deb, Amin, Pert Dog, 49er Minded. What's up, Bashir? I see you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's watch some football. Let's see how these playoffs turn out. And for everybody who's in my chat who I see as a 49ers fan, go Niners. Let's go faithful to the Bay. Love you guys. See you on the next episode here on Mo's Nose. We out.